Welcome to Causing the Effect, a podcast focused on the exploration of your mind, body, and spirit.
Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Causing the Effect channel. If you're watching, welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you're listening, as always, thank you so much for the support. Let me tell you guys who we got today. One of the most authentic dudes in this space, Zeco Powell. Usually I got to prepare for people. And, I went on Zeco's podcast, which that episode will be dropping this week. I'm going to let you premiere the new name, Zeco, because I know you went through a little rebranding. And then we'll talk about you, man. How are you?
All right, man. I'm great. I'm only 2 weeks away from coming back from Jamaica, so I still got a little of that reggae vibe.
We're talking about that too. I got some questions about some posts and some things, man. So
I got you. I've been playing, still playing Bob Marley songs on my guitar almost every day. Cause I still got the reggae. I still got that reggae vibe in me, and that good feeling.
Dude, I feel like the accent is heavier since you came back from Jamaica.
That's usually how it works. To a Jamaican, it doesn't sound heavy, but to someone who's not Jamaican, it sounds heavy. If you hear me talk when I'm in Jamaica, you probably wouldn't understand a word, even if I speak English.
It's the same thing with me when I'm running. When I leave New York, I come back and I'm like, it's just I'm so used to being in New York that heavy accent just stays with you.
Right. Makes sense.
But dude, tell me, man, what happened? What happened with the name? What happened with the rebranding? Tell me the whole story.
So, my little brain was struck with an idea that was so genius, it just might work. And this is the matter over mind experience, right?
I like that.
Now, the reason why I call it that is this. We hear mind over matter all the time. Most people say mind over matter, wish your problems away, which your mind is powerful. We know our mind is powerful, right? It can do wonderful things, right? But a lot of times we think, just think you're good, just, meditate and focus on mental health. And those things are very important. But this is the key thing a lot of people are missing. The mind and the body work together. The mind is not a separate thing out there that's just floating in the air, and then it just sends signals to the body, and then the body just functions, right? Now, this is how the matter over mind comes over instead of mind over matter. Give an example. Let's say you sleep for 3 hours a day for a week or two, right? Every day. You can meditate all you want. You're going to feel like crap. You can repeat all the positive things you want. You're going to feel like crap. Why? Because the body, you have to take care of the body. When you take care of the body and it functions well, then you will have a clearer mind. Then you will have more energy. Then you will feel amazing because you have to take care of the body. Dr. David Prologo, that I interviewed on my show, has a wonderful book called The Catching Point. And he talks about people like me and you who are fit, we work out, we're motivated, we're good, we're going. And then someone who's maybe 50 to 100 pounds overweight. We might look at them and say, oh, you're just not motivated. You're just not motivated. But we don't realize that there are a lot of physical things that makes it hard for them to actually work out. That you and I, our bodies create inflammation when we work out, but our bodies are trained to respond to that inflammation. Mm-hmm. We have science that tells us that our body has bacteria that craves healthy foods versus someone who's been eating a highly processed diet that has different bacteria in their body, right? So someone like myself can go on a healthy diet and eat a healthy diet, but someone who's been eating a unhealthy diet, a high sugary processed diet for 20, 30 years, the thought of eating healthy makes them want to throw up. For me, the thought of eating McDonald's and Burger King makes me want to throw up because of what I do to my body, what I put into my body. Sure. Someone like myself loves to work out. Someone who's 50, 100 pounds overweight, have a hard time walking down the street. You're going to tell them, oh, you're just not motivated to work out. No, it's things, they're literal, and this is what he brings up in his book, The Catching Point. There are literal things that are happening in his body. Chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, producing inflammatory cytokines, all these things that are happening that makes it 2 to 3 times harder, if not more, for that person than me. So here comes the matter over mind experience. And that's key. The matter over mind experience. I want people who listen to my podcast, who are clients of mine, to understand the things that I do to my body so I can have a clear mind, so I can have a lot of energy, so I can work out, so I can burn body fat, so I can build lean muscle. I want people to learn those things. And so I want them to experience what I experience. Now, does the mind play a role? Yes, the mind definitely plays a role. But if you take care of the body, it makes it easier to focus on mindfulness. Like I said, if you go for a whole 2 weeks and you don't get much sleep, it's going to be hard to even get out the door, to concentrate, to keep your cortisol low. All those things that impact your mind is going to be 2-3 times as hard. If you eat crappy food, if you eat a lot of high sugar foods, high inflammatory foods, we know how inflammation impacts the brain, right?
Sure.
So everything that we do to our bodies impact the mind and vice versa. And by the way, the brain is part of the body experience, not part of the mind experience, right? Because we know the mind is different. We're talking about on a spiritual level, on a mental level, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the matter over mind experience comes down to the teaching you the habits that you need so you can experience what my brother Scott and I experience. That's the motivation behind the show and the rebranding.
I really like that. I think that you're catering to people that really could use it. And even for me, like I was 280 pounds at one point, and like I never would have thought about the mind stuff because I was focusing on the physical world. Once you have the ability and take your approach of I'm going to change my body, I think there's definitely a confidence shift, obviously, but there's something more than that. There's something deeper. Like it's belief. Like I have the belief, like once I changed my body, I was like, I really have the belief I can change anything. And that's such a beautiful thing. What made this whole thing happen?
The interview with Dr. Prologo was kind of pushed me to that because my show already talks about that, right? Mm-hmm. The Zeco Health Show, we've been focusing on improving the body, improving gut bacteria, improving your healthy mitochondria, healing people. Well, I won't personally say I heal, but you know, if you helping people who have health issues like insulin resistance, so on and so forth. So we always focus on the body. And then I brought individuals like yourself, like Sam Led, who've talked about the mind as well. And we've always made those connections. That's always been the show. The show's not changing necessarily.
Yeah.
But when after talking to Dr. Prologo and a few other experts that's in my network, we started brainstorming and started thinking about how the body actually impacts the mind, because how people think. When I walk around, for example, people say to me often, what do you eat? What do you eat? What do you eat? Or how do you have so much energy? How do you do this? And I always tell them, you can't do what I do, right? But I say, you're at a different part of your journey than I am. Things that you need to do to your body are different than what I need to do to my body. And I explained that to them. Now, why is that important? Because once you start making gradual changes to the body, you start to realize that you start to get more motivated. You start to have more energy. You start to level up. You're like, you know what? For example, in my first couple of years into fitness, I never meditated. But when I got so healthy that I'm no longer taking any medications whatsoever to opt off all my medications that the doctor had me on. When I got to that point, I started looking more into how can I level up? How can I move up? Just like you just mentioned, right? When you started working out, you started building that muscle, you started feeling good, and you started to look into what happens with your mind. Mm-hmm. So the Zeco Health Show has always been there. It's always been about that. The only thing is that now I am directly tying it in by using the words.
I like that. And just so everybody knows, Zeco is a certified master trainer, weight management expert. He's the guy to go to. I would say that the Zeco Health is similar to me with more of a focus on the health side. And this is why I feel like we're like the yin and yang. Zeke, it's such a nice little balance that we have here. Now, with this approach, have you ever dealt with a client or somebody who is like, let's just say that person who's because that first step is the hardest, right? Have you ever what is that? Because I've tried to do it. And I would say I lack patience. I lack compassion with these things, because for us it's easy, right? I just do it and you just do it. How do you help or coach somebody? Like, what is the difference between coaching a person who's a little bit more motivated, a little bit more level 2, 3, compared to a person who's just hasn't even, started moving yet?
Well, the first thing is the type of clients I work with. I work with those who are not motivated. I work with those who need my help. I don't work with professional athletes, because I used to train people who are, athletic, But it was more like, I was more like a speed bump for them. Track my macros and make sure I don't go over here. And like that sounds like hell to me. I can't do that. I'm here on this planet to make a difference. And I want to work with people who need the help, who don't know what to do. Right now. So when I start working with those people, the first thing is I sit with them and I ask them, what are their goals? What are they trying to do? And if they're just saying, I'm trying to lose weight, I say, no, that's the end result, right? Everybody wants to lose weight, but really, what are you trying to accomplish? And then we started getting deep into, well, I want to have more energy to play with my kids, or I want to be able to have a clearer mind, be able to function better at work. Or, there's so many things that the day-to-day stuff that they just struggle, getting out of bed, getting up out of bed without having pain, having the core strength to not force themselves to wake up in the morning. I've had clients that actually messaged me that and said, I can't believe after a couple of weeks, I'm getting up out of bed with no problems. Like my core is stronger from the things that we've done, right? So that's the first step. The second step is then personalizing each person's training plan. Not something that gets on my nerves is when I go to the gym and I see a trainer train everybody the same way because that's their program. And I'm like, all right, then you can just put that up on an app and sell it for $20 because if that's what you're no value to that person, really, right? The person pretty much paying for an appointment at that point. But I personalize my training based on what each person needs. Now I'm gonna bring up one of my favorite clients. I'm not gonna mention by name. He's the kind of person that he's been recently diagnosed with OCD, right? But I already knew this, but I never mentioned it because I can tell from his behavior how he does certain things, because he gets stuck in learn something 20 years and he puts it in that department and it just stays there. And he's very robotic mentally when it comes to certain things, right? Now, he finally came and told me, but he needed to lose a lot of weight, but I told him that he needed to stop focusing on the weight and start focusing on the daily wins. And he stopped, and after working with him for a while and he started feeling better, because at the end of the workout, he will tell me, man, that was a good workout. I felt last month, I couldn't have done that. Or he would say, remember, because, he's 150 pounds overweight. So that he said to me, remember when we first started, I couldn't do calf raises at all, but now I can do calf raises, right? Because he tips over a little bit, right? When he tries to, and all these things. And he started celebrating those wins to where he loves to ride his bicycle now. And he loves to do those things. And we just talk about those all the time. Now, he's also a Cowboys fan, so we talk shit a little bit about the Cowboys, while we're training and stuff like that. And then I also look at what he likes to do. He's a big guy. He likes to lift heavy, but also knows that he likes to compensate. So some days I'll give him a day where he just can go crazy and just do what he loves and be the Hulk and just enjoy the workout. And some days I'm saying, look, we're going to work on those little, he calls them the shit muscles, right? I said, we're going to work on these little muscles today. That's what we're going to focus on. I know you're going to hate me. We'll talk about the Cowboys while we're doing it, right? But you got to personalize it. That's my whole point. You got to personalize it. Now, with him understanding now that he has OCD, you know what he does now that he actually started feeling better? He's meditating every morning. Every morning, because he's starting to get to that point where he's like, man, I'm leveling up. I'm losing weight. I'm building muscle. I'm almost 60 years old. People my age shouldn't be doing this the way he feels compared to, let's say, a few months ago. So now he's meditating because he's leveling up. He's sleeping better. Just a little thing I told him about getting some glucose before bed. And he came back to me a few days later and said, my sleep has been so much better the last few days after he made that change, right? So then he wakes up and he wants to, now he wants to level up. And that, again, is the matter over mind experience. That's what I give people. I give you what you physically need. You're going to work on your mind. You can't separate it. You can't just say, okay, I'm just going to work on my body. That's it. You mentioned also, I think in one of your shows, that there are people that get stuck in the gym, that they always want to improve and they always want to improve. And it's kind of feel like a rut, like you're never big enough. You're never fast enough. You're never this enough, right? That's because they're only focused on the matter and they're not focusing on the mind.
Correct.
But you have to focus on both. The difference is, instead of trying to force your body to through concentration to do something that's going to be extremely difficult, start making the changes physically so you can feel better. So when you do start working on the mental stuff, it's something that you want to do, and to make it's easier for you to do, because you are optimizing the full experience.
Dude, you're psychologically seeing their, let's say, their mental whatever hurdles they have to get over, which is huge. You're connecting with them, right? Being a friend. Like I see you do on Instagram. Anybody that I'm connected with you, I just see you comment. I'm like, this dude, I need, because I try to get better with my engagement, Zeco. So you connecting with people, connecting with them at that level. And obviously you're making a nice personalized system, which like I would say the good trainers on Instagram, the high end people will do like one piece, that personalization, not understand the psychological needs, not understand the connection to talk about the Cowboys, and then making a little fun for them with the lift heavy, which I would say that's more of a me thing too. And be able to like throw that all together into a beautiful little program. You're doing more. You're literally giving them a full-on experience.
That's the goal. That's really the goal. And I've learned that over time. And honest, that's the only way I can justify how much my clients pay me. And I say that because honestly, if you're going to pay me, I'm not going to say my rates out loud, but my clients pay me well. If you're going to pay me well, I have to deliver that to you, right? If you're going to pay me $100 a month, $150 a month or something like that, I can just give you a program and just send you on your way. But my clients pay me because they know what they're going to get. My clients come to me because they know what they're going to get. I'm even going to redo my app. I actually just canceled my app and I'm going to redo it so I can start to teach the matter over mind experience online, because you don't need me to watch your form. I need to teach you the form. That's important. Form is very important. You know that as you work out, right? You're both a dude than I am, right? So form is important, right? I look up to you, bro. I look up to you.
Oh, dude, I see. First off, I don't got no balls to take. I see you posted, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to throw because even my Instagram, the girl does my Instagram, was like, we got to put a body pic up for you. I'm like, it's coming. The cut is happening. I'm gonna do one, and then we have to have me, you, and Sam come on and do a show as well here on this.
Oh, we're gonna do it.
Yeah,
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do that. And you know what? When I come to New York, and my uncle's in New York, and I say I'm going to, we're gonna do a flex post together on Instagram.
Oh, dude, right? And then we got a night out. I'll show you. Like I am you are the Zeco of the health world. I am the Zeco of the nightlife world over here in New York. So we could do some good times, Zeke. No, but now back, what were we talking about? I totally lost what we were talking about.
I kind of lost what we're talking about too, to be honest, but we're kind of we're getting to the motivation piece, and we're talking about
So okay, this is it. This is what I was going to ask you. I'm assuming, because I feel like with everybody, the workout is relatively the fun part of this whole thing, the dieting concept. How do you break that down with your people? Because I hate the trainers who go, it's just calories in, calories out. It's that simple. It's not that simple. That's why everybody would be fit and in shape then. How does that work from your end with your clients? The dieting side. I don't know
how much time you have, because this could be like a 5-hour podcast. So let's break this down and let's make this brief. All right, I'm gonna make this brief. First of all, anytime if you go to a trainer, all he tells you is calories in, calories out. Turn out and get out. Just turn around, walk away, and just move on. That's all he's telling you. Now, when I say that to people, that doesn't mean calories are not important. Calories are important, right? However, I don't count my calories. The reason why I don't count my calories is when I've been doing this for a long time. I'll be lying if I said I've never tracked before. I have. But my focus is I eat the way I'm supposed to eat, and I eat intuitively at this point because I've been doing it so long, right? So my body is going to calculate a certain amount of calories. But for example, 1,000 calories of carbs is a whole lot more than 1,000 calories of fat and protein. You got to eat a whole lot more carbs to get 1,000, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not just calories thing. Now, let's talk about the new person, the person that hasn't been doing this for forever, right? What I focus on first is what are they eating now? Because what they're eating now tells me what changes I can make. If someone's already been working on a semi-healthy diet, I can play around a lot more because they're already into it and they've been working on it for a while, and their taste buds have changed a little bit. Their gut bacteria is already adjusted a little bit. That's a little different, right? But someone that's brand new to this whole deal, I started making small changes. For example, I've had a client where I told him to use stevia in his coffee instead of cream. 2 weeks later, he lost an inch off his waist, and he's all happy. He's like, I thought using stevia. I should like, not everybody likes stevia, but that's just an example, right? Just a small change, right? I have had clients where I say, you know what, you eat dark chocolate or whatever, bump it up a little bit, go to 75%. Throw some kombucha in your diet. You know what I'm saying? Drink some kombucha. You know what? Try some red wine every once in a while with your dinner. right? Little things. And that's the matter over mind experience I'm talking about. Like those little things that we do, right? Can start making those adjustments, you start feeling better, because we know that over time, the more you start adding in those healthy things and you start feeding your healthy gut bacteria, like giving it fiber, for example, that promotes the good bacteria, probiotics to grow, right? The more you start giving your body those things, the more your body starts to change. We've had research that shows that if you take the bacteria of a obese person and put it in mice, the mice gets obese. Or you take the bacteria from a lean person and put it in the mice gets lean or stays lean. We've had research on that. Zoe, that runs they've been on my podcast as well, actually, and they run the largest nutrition study in the world, talks about the importance of having the right gut environment. You and I have different gut environments, but let me tell you this. Your gut environment now from when you started is completely different because you eat different foods.
Oh,
my body, bitter is one of the best things for our bodies. My body doesn't like sweets. When I tell people I don't like cake, they look at me crazy. Like, I legit don't like cake. I don't like sweets. Anything I have, most things I eat are bitter. The only time I may eat something sweet is if I need to carb up before a run or something where I know I'm just, the tank is on E, right? Or if I'm at a party, I'm not gonna lie, I'm human, right? I'm at a party, I'm gonna, I have a cake or two, whatever, but, or a slice or two. But after that, if I don't touch cake for another 6 months, it means nothing to me, right? Because my gut environment is different. So I have to, someone who's starting from the beginning, I have to slowly start chipping away and working on the gut environment. And guess what's the miracle thing happened? Like, it's kind of like the catching point that Dr. Prologo is talking about. They get to the point where they're like, what else can I try? I've had clients come to me and said, I bought some kimchi this weekend. I'm gonna try this out. Actually, and they were like, oh, I actually like it. Some may not like it, but some may say, I like it. Or I've had clients call me and say, you know what? I saw using coconut sugar, or, I changed my salt that I use. I'm using pink Himalayan or Celtic salt. Like, I've had clients come to me without me having to go to them and tell them to make changes because their body's changing. And what they don't know, what they do know, because I tell them, is that their bacteria in their gut is changing, and the bacteria in their gut is craving different things. Because like Jonathan Wolf said, from the scientist from Zoe, we have bacteria that craves McDonald's. We have bacteria that craves Burger King, but we also have bacteria that craves healthy stuff. Anyone doesn't believe me? Ask someone who been a meat eater all their life. I'm not gonna get into the conversation which one's better or whatever. I don't care about all that. Not for the sake of this podcast. But someone's eaten meat all their life, right? And they switch to a vegetarian diet, especially if they do it properly, which is a very difficult thing to do. After a while, they don't crave meat anymore because their bacteria in their body changes. The bacteria that craves certain things are different. What you feed your body dictates what happens in your body. And when you learn that and you start making those changes, all the other things become easier.
Now the bacteria will eventually remove it. Let's say the person who's eating, who has the bacteria of Burger King and the fast food and all that stuff, that will eventually, just kind of remove itself from the equation, and those, the struggles and the cravings, all those will eventually kind of dissipate.
Over time, yes, if you follow a specific program and you keep consistent with it. For example, most of our bad bacteria crave sugars, especially processed and added sugars, right? So if you every week or two, this is why I don't believe in cheat meals, because I'm not talking about calories. I'm talking about making changes, right? So I don't in the beginning tell you to just eat good 6 days and eat like crap one day. I don't believe in that, right? Because we're focusing on making a complete change. So if you keep feeding your body sugars in the process consistently, it's going to be very hard because you're promoting the good bacteria to stay there, because they're like, oh, you're feeding me. It's like a stray cat. Like, it's like, oh, you're feeding me, I'm gonna come back. You're feeding me, I'm gonna come back, right? But then when you just take away certain things and start throwing some bitter stuff into the mix, and you give them some fruit and some vegetables, because let me tell you something, the dumbest thing I hear from dietitians and nutritionists, or even doctors sometimes, is when they try to tell people not to eat fruit. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, we sometimes think fruit this is the craziest thing in the world, that some people actually think fruit is unhealthy. Like, I've heard it before, and I've looked at them like they have two heads or something. Because I'm like, I don't know, fruit, anything that grows in nature is not unhealthy. Now, preparation, all those things, yes, we know about lectins and the poisons, and you got the sprout and all these different things that come into play, which I'm not going to get into on the show, but listen to the Matter Over Mind experience to get all those wonderful details, right? But when you start feeding it the right things, then the good bacteria is going to say, all right, you're feeding me now. I'm going to start making my way back. And more fish going to grow. And then eventually it's like a tug of war between the good and the bad, right? But guess what happened on that tug of war? If you feed the bad's going to win. You feed the good is going to get stronger on that side, right? And pull more. So it's not a exact science to say, okay, it's just going to disappear. But you feed the good. You want to have more good than bad. And the only way to do that is by making the changes gradually, starving the bad as much as you possibly can, and feeding the good as much as you possibly can.
I like that, dude. Now that relationship you had with sweets, it sounds like they have no power over you. It's not even a thought in your mind. Were you always that way?
No, actually. So I had really bad acne when I was a kid, man. I was really skinny too, actually. I used to say I didn't eat dinner, right? I used to save my money and buy snacks. I remember my aunt and I, we still talk about it because I used to follow my aunt around everywhere, right? And I used to do everything she did. And Beverly Hills 90210, that was her show. And every day I had Oreos and watched Beverly Hills 90210. Now, I said I was skinny, but I had a belly, right? So I was a skinny fat, right? So I wasn't healthy at all, right? And Jolly Ranchers, I remember, cause I grew up in Jamaica, and I remember, so a lot of American candy wasn't available. I remember right down from my school, the place opened, a store opened, and they sold Jolly Ranchers. And every day I spent almost half my lunch money on Jolly Ranchers. So I was a skinny fat kid with pimples everywhere because I love sweets, right? Mm-hmm. But then I had asthma. Then I had eczema. Yeah, all those things that I had because I was feeding all that bad bacteria. So one day I went to the doctor. I was in my 30s now. Still didn't have any pimples or anything, but I still had the eczema, I still had the asthma and stuff like that, right? And my mom used to always tell me, by the way, you eat too much sweets, that's why you have pimples. But I'm like, well, you know what? All teenagers have pimples, so I'd rather eat the Jolly Ranchers. You know what I mean? So, I fast forward, I went to the doctor when I was in my 30s because my asthma got too bad. It was out of control to where days I had to go home, stay on the couch. I'm dizzy. Luckily, I didn't work far from the office because I could almost feel like I'm gonna pass out driving home. And I got my doctor, and they upped my medication. They took me from the albuterol to Advair, and then that's some pills because the doctors finally figured out it was allergy related. So then I had allergies I apparently didn't know I had, right? It's connected to pollen. So I said, no, this is the thing that triggered me. See, I grew up in Jamaica where I'm not a fan of pills. And when he started putting me on pills, I said to myself, man, if I keep doing this, I'm going to be on pills the rest of my life. Not only that, because I'm going to move from 3 medications to 5. Then in a few years, it's going to be, I'm going to have like a pill for every day kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? I have that little prescription things like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's like, no, that's not life. That can't be life. So then I started doing my studies. Not going to take so much longer on that. Started doing my studies, started getting my certifications, learning a bunch of stuff. And 3 years later, actually March is my 3-year anniversary. Since I've been off all my medication, no breathing problems, no allergy issues, no eczema issues, no skin issues, right? Now, the relationship with sweets, that was a gradual thing that happened one day when I just kind of realized it happened because I was making those gradual changes. And it was like one day I think I got cake and I didn't like it. It was like too sweet for me. And I'm like, I used to love this coconut. It's this coconut cake I used to get from Walmart, actually, in Mrs. Fields or whatever it's called. And I used to love that cake. And I got a piece of it. And I'm like, dang, this thing is sweet. And I even tried other cakes that are not as sweet and stuff. And I'm like, this stuff is really sweet. Like, and then I realized when I was drinking Surrocy, like really bitter herbs, and I just loved it. Right, kombucha. I'm still trying to find a more bitter kombucha than the commercial one. And I'm still on the hunt for that, right? Because even the kombucha that I find even at Whole Foods, I think is a little bit sweeter than it's supposed to be, right? So it was a gradual thing, but it's like I woke up one day and realized, yo, I don't like this stuff anymore. And again, it goes back to what I'm talking about, right? The matter over mind, because I was treating my body so well, then it became a habit for me, and I kept leveling up. To one day, I just realized I don't want that crap. I don't want that crap anymore.
Dude, that I see. I didn't know that all those struggles, man. Because I'm seeing the refined version of Zeco, all fucking studded out with all this stuff. Now, when you go through that process, you're making it sound simple, obviously, right? You're taking a little gradual, but like it's in your mind. What were some of the struggles you handled, and how did you ultimately overcome them?
Honestly, because I was skinny fat all my life, even all the running I did.
Was it like a body thing, like an image thing?
Yeah, it was really imaging because I was like, man, I want to look like this. I want to look like, but I also realized I have a different body, right? But this is the important thing though. When I started making the physical changes, my body started forming the way that it's designed. And I started looking freaking good, man. Like, so because part of the process too is when my bacteria in my body change, when my metabolism becomes more flexible and I can burn fat properly and I can build lean muscle. I have an in-body at my home that I step on it like a couple of times a week just to see where my lean muscle mass is versus my body fat, right? And I started looking really good. So in the beginning, it was like, okay, this guy looks okay with his shirt on. But I'm not taking my shirt off at the beach because I was skinny fat. I didn't have abs, right? Which is fast forward years later, I'm almost 40 years old and I have a six-pack, right? Now, again, making those changes. So the first struggle for me was a mind thing. But then I had to realize something though. Everybody that I met that was, look good in the gym and, worked out all the time were some of the nicest people in the world. The stuff that I was worried about, they weren't worried about. They were helping me. They're like, one guy said, yo, you have some small legs, man. Your body looks good. You have some small legs. He put me on a leg program. Now, leg day is my favorite. I'm always on Instagram story, like posting like my leg pics. Like I love the way my legs look. They never look like that my entire life, right? Again, being skinny fat. So I started to realize that all these things I was worried about, all that crap was in my head, man. It was me making it like Sam Led from The Fearless Now talks about.
Shout out, big shout out to Sammy Led. Sammy, we love you.
Fantastic podcast. And you have The Fearless Now. Let me tell you, that's a fantastic podcast. And he talked about it, that the noise that we hear is our minds trying to defend us, right? Trying to protect us. So we hear all that stuff that's most of the time not even true. And before even Sam told me, but I never even made that connection. But talking to someone like him who is so enlightened helped me to even connect even more of the dots that were lost, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing.
We get into our heads.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Even, your issue was your body, right? My issue was just looking silly or being like, I never want to be a jerk. And you're always worried about what other people think of you. And I realized that is the most powerless way to live your life, because in the end, people or all of us are dealing with our own issues of like worrying about this other nonsense. And when you start looking at it, like I look at it more like it's funny because it still deal with that, but like doing stand-up comedy, running on stage, and like you just start like, who gives a shit? Like let just be yourself, be the most authentic version of yourself, and try your best. And it's so funny you mentioned about the gym, because I think people, when you're not at that certain level of a gym person, you look at it like, oh, gym people are meatheads. They don't know that it's all bro system. And then once you're in it, you realize, like, because every time I meet a fit person, I'm like, this tells me you have a certain amount of discipline. You have a certain amount of criteria in your life that you are in control of your mind. And it's so funny that we think this way, because I'm reading, funny enough, you mentioned that I'm reading a book called The Evolution of the Conscious Mind. And the reason why we think this way is because we are actually kind of attuned to think in the exact present moment. Why? Because millions of years ago, we had to worry about what was happening right at that moment. Is a tiger coming? Is this person going to kill us? Blah, 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 blah. Now we don't really have to worry. It's the opposite. We have to worry about the future. So adjusting to that and being able to have a conversation, like the way I try to tell people to help them lose weight, is like, don't have a talk with yourself now. Have a talk with the future version of Zeco, with the future version of Scott. Have that conversation with that person that's how are you going to feel 3-4 weeks if you eat, your shitty food for the next couple of days. That's how I got out of it. Cause I was eating McDonald's 4 times a week and had no idea it was even bad. I still can't believe I did that. I went to the doctor. He was like, what are you doing? Your triglycerides are supposed to be 800. They're at 5,000. Like, what are you doing? I was eating McDonald's, 40 piece nuggets, hamburger, chicken nugget. And I thought it was okay because I was playing football and I could lift some weight. And it was like the worst. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
That's funny. You ever watch the game with like Derwin? What's her name? Was it Melody? Because she used to be on Sister Sister. It's like an old. It's a old.
What is it called? Like, it's called The Game.
Yeah.
No.
It's about a football team in San Diego. It's an old show. I think only lasted 4 seasons. Started on BET. But it was one of my favorite shows growing up. Not growing up, but when I moved to US, I was like mid-20s or something like that. And because it was about football, number one. So it was about football. And it was really funny, especially the first 2 seasons are more like a comedy, and it kind of transitioned to being a drama. But anyway, but Derwin, he's like the guy, he's the best looking one physically. He's actually the wide receiver. He's ripped. He's a traditional wide receiver. He's kind of like that dude that plays for the Seahawks, the big guy.
DJ Metcalf.
Metcalf, right? He's like Metcalf, just a little bit smaller, but he's built like him, so he looks really good, right? When the quarterback, he has a 4-pack, he looks pretty good, but he doesn't look like Derwin. And they're all sitting around eating, and Derwin was eating. I remember what Derwin was eating, and then the guys are the quarterback Malik, he was eating McDonald's or something like that, some fast food, and he said to Derwin, "You want some fries?" And Derwin said, "No, man, I'm good. See, that's why I'm sitting here with a 6-pack and you sitting with a 4." And I'll never forget that. It's the exact story you're talking about, right?
Dude, that's it. I said I didn't have even a 4-pack. Dude. I was a husky. I'm 184 now, and we're on the cut, so we'll end up 175. But like I was 260, 270, and it was athletic, so you could run around and smack people up. But like you just didn't. Like I didn't realize you could feel this good by just you get your 8 hours of sleep. Like I tell people, like before you want to save the world, before you want to change anything, focus on yourself, and not even like do crazy stuff. Sleep right, eat right. Like, are you feeling good? Because it's one thing if you say this stuff, it's another thing to when you start feeling it. I think that's the piece. That's why I love the mind over matter experience. I think that's the matter over mind experience. Buddy. Yeah, I'm gonna get that. But that's the cool part that I think clicked for me of like, why wouldn't I want to feel good? And once you get people on that, it's a snowball effect and it's the momentum. And that's why I think that first step with people is such a crucial thing. And that's why that work you're doing is so interesting.
And like you and I can sit on the couch, right? And we got to train today, right? And we're like, I don't feel like it. That's kind of a mind over matter thing, because we're just like, okay, today's just not the day I don't feel like doing. That's more a mind over matter thing.
Yep.
Or if we don't practice mindfulness, if we don't, so that it has its place. I'm not debunking that theory. Like if we don't practice mindfulness, if we don't focus on the future, like you said, right? If we don't do those things, like the mind plays an important role. How we think is important. Sam Led talks about that all the time, right?
Yeah.
But that's what me and you, because we're at a certain level. But I'm talking about the regular Joe Schmo out there who hasn't touched a gym in the last 20 years. Right?
Dude, it's all like, if you don't take action, it really means nothing. And I think that's the coolest part. And that's even something that people have been emailing me, like, just you get a little in your funk, right? You start intellectualizing things, you start reading stuff. And I wonder, but like, are you doing anything? Like taking action, if like it doesn't come as natural to people who are just, maybe a little depressed, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But no, dude, it's cool stuff. Now, the question I want to ask you, because I've seen you've been crushing it with these episodes, cortisol. I've seen you've been doing a couple of your updates now. For people who don't know, cortisol, essential hormone, affects almost every organ and tissue in the body, regulates your body's stress response, helps your body control the use of fats, proteins, all that good stuff, suppresses inflammation. What have you learned about cortisol and how to lower it?
Well, I first want to back up a little bit, because what a lot of people don't realize is cortisol, it being a very important hormone, is more of a responsive hormone. Right.
That's a good point.
It responds to things that we do and things that happen in our body. Again, I'm going to go back to the matter over mind experience, right? If you have high adrenaline levels, and just I'm going to tie everything in this answer, so I'm going to keep it as short as I can and as direct as I can. If you have high adrenaline levels, right, your body responds by trying to defend itself. And one way the body defends itself is by increasing cortisol. Now, why is that important to know? Because you shouldn't be worried about attacking cortisol. You should be worried about lowering the adrenaline that's causing the stress response. Because once the stress response happens, your body's going to say, I'm going to pick up with cortisol, right? So let's talk about lowering cortisol. First, I'm sorry, lowering adrenaline. First and most and foremost, quality sleep. I have an article, and even on the Matter of Mind experience, I have a show for I think January or so. There's short the shorts that I do on the weekends. It's like 12 minutes or so, and about getting quality sleep, and I lay it out, right? But getting quality sleep is always number one. That's when the body rebalances their hormones. That's when we recover. You know what it's like. If you sleep like crap and then you try to go train the next day, it's not happening. And if it does, it's one of the train. It might even take twice as long, and you're gonna get half the amount what you get out of it, right? So the first thing is always getting quality sleep. That's gonna be number one over everything. Lower cortisol. Another important thing is the alarm clock. Very important. I'm not saying you can't set your alarm clock because I'm a 5:30, 6 o'clock kind of guy. I have to have a clock just to catch me, even though I wake up before it most times. But I always have an alarm clock. But you see that that we get picks up our cortisol so much in the mornings. It's ridiculous. Now, our cortisol is supposed to be higher in the mornings. We know that because it's called the cortisol awakening effect. But you don't want anything outside of that pushing it higher than it's supposed to be. So that's the next thing is the alarm clock. And then if you're in the middle of REM sleep, right, and then it kicks you out of your sleep, you feel like crap. Think about when you wake up in the middle of a dream, especially when you're woken up from an alarm. So and that's connected. The whole thing I'm talking about is connected to getting quality sleep. But with the alarm is change your tone of your alarm. Of course, setting proper bedtime, good sleep hygiene, again, getting quality sleep is number one. All those things play a role in that. But change the tone of your alarm. Have a little jazz music, a little classical music, right? If you're telling me that a little jazz, a little classical, or I'm a soccer fan, so I have a chant that says "Go City, Go City," and it just kind of it's a pleasant thing to wake up to, or a song that you like or something. If that's not going to wake you up in the morning, you definitely need to work on your sleep hygiene, because there's no way you should be that dead that you need something to yell at you to wake you up in the mornings, right? So change the tone of your alarm. The way you start your day is also very important. We have studies that show that the average American is exposed to like 6 or more stressors in the mornings, especially now that people are going back to work. The alarm is number one. Got to get the kids ready. If you have a husband, you know, and he's stubborn, you got to yell at him. You got to cook food. You got to
phone, bro. You go on the phone, it's over.
You get on the phone. You're looking at the family chat. You get in the car, you're yelling at people in traffic. Because I live in Orlando and everybody drives like 5 miles an hour down the street. So then you get there, you got to clock in, then you got to start work. So it's even more than 6 stressors. So your adrenaline levels are so high in the mornings that your body is responding because your body thinks you're under attack for like hours straight. And then you say, I ate a salad. Why can't I lose weight? Because your cortisol levels are too high because your adrenaline, adrenaline is high, number one. Your body's responding because your body thinks it's under stress. And how does the body defend itself? Raising cortisol. So that's the next thing is how you start your day. The next thing is how you eat. Right? How you eat is very important. And I'm not going to get into the whole list of that. I even have shorts on my show about eating to lower your adrenaline levels. So that's very important as well. But your eating habits are very important in that. But a couple quick things, lowering inflammation. The traditional American has a 17-to-1 inflammatory to anti-inflammatory diet. We're just walking around with a bunch of inflammation, which when our body's under stress, the COVID, what does COVID do? COVID causes inflammation. And any kind of virus that attacks our body causes inflammation. And we're adding to that by eating a high inflammatory diet. We're just asking for it. Yep. Right? So 17-to-1, even if it's 15-to-1, whatever, it's still bad. If it's 10-to-1, that's still bad. Every health expert I know recommends at minimum 1-to-1 anti-inflammatory to inflammatory. That may be hard to really match up, right? I mean, I don't count every single food and which one is omega-3s versus omega-6. I don't do that. But some experts say just try to go 2-to-1 anti-inflammatory to inflammatory. Right? I try to say 1-to-2. So 1 should be the inflammatory, 2 should be the anti-inflammatory. So the moral of the story is get more anti-inflammatory into your diet than inflammatory. Get rid of all that McDonald's and stuff that you eat. You're just creating inflammation everywhere. All the crap. And again, that's why the Matter of Mind is so important because when I teach my clients certain diet, part of it is lowering inflammation. That can be getting vitamin D, which by the way is mental health that you mentioned can be quantified as a vitamin D deficiency. I've had doctors on my show that talked about it. There's research that talked about that, right? Getting some fish oil in your diet, getting some healthy nuts, having a low inflammation diet. By the way, 75% of our immune system resides in our gut. If our gut's inflamed, our immune system can't function well. Again, matter over mind, right? So our diet plays a very important role. And there's a lot more things that I can get into. And if anybody want to ask me the questions, my Instagram, Zeco Health, reach out to me with any questions. ZECO Health is one word, right? Or again, listen to the podcast, Matter Over Mind Experience. But so there's a lot more to that. The next thing is spend time with people you like. I have a thing, man. You could be my brother, my sister. If I don't like being around you, I'm not going to be around you. Like, that's just how it goes. Why do you think that like Scott and I connected? Because I like Scott. I hope he likes me. Man. He probably thinks that this guy's a dick, but you know, I like Scott. Scott's my buddy.
Zeco, everything you're saying is how I changed my life in like 2 years, because I stopped. I used to wake up with that alarm, and my girl came over the other day, and she never slept here before. She woke up and it was like, she was like, this is like waking up in heaven. I'm like, yeah, it's how you're fucking supposed to wake up. It's how you're supposed to wake up. But that eating right and then not fucking with that negative energy, bro. That shit will bring you down. That's a vampire energy, man. You and Sammy Led, bro. Lift me up.
Dude, that's why I love listening to both of your shows. I don't catch every episode, but every time I see one that he posts on Instagram or Sam, and I can catch it, I'm like, I'm gonna listen to this. If I'm working on something for a client or something that's happening in the background playing, so I can listen to it, because
it's the best.
The one you guys did together, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Oh my god, that episode! You bore your soul on that interview,
dude. And I'm not used to doing that, bro. And he can't say enough things about it. He helped me get out of that little rut I was in, because that was 2 days after I was in the shooting. That was in that subway thing I was in. It was crazy. He got me out of it. Sammy, you did it. We're back, baby. We're back, and we're fucking thriving. So
that's right.
No, that's interesting though. So we got to lower the cortisol. You're not even looking at the cortisol. You're looking at your adrenaline, and it's gonna be nice when you wake up. And we've spoken about that a lot on this podcast, Zeke, about just that first hour of waking up and not having the reactions. You go to your phone, you're looking at your work emails, you're looking at what your girl texts you, you're looking at the guys who's just that first hour is religious to me. I'm up 4:30 a.m. Nobody's talking to me for an hour. It's just not happening.
I'm gonna sum it up real quick. 1, getting quality sleep. 2, low stress habits, including when you wake up, your alarm, everything we talked about. 3, having an anti-inflammation diet. And 4, like you said, get the vampires out of your life.
Get those
4 things will work wonders for your health.
It will change you, literally, fundamentally. Dude, cool stuff, man. Now for you, my last 2 questions. Who do you think is winning the NBA championship?
CP3 is my favorite player of all time. No, I'm sorry, not all time. Sorry, it's my favorite player in the league because I played point guard growing up. So I'm rooting for Phoenix. But I think Golden State is going to win it. What's the next one?
The next one, I know the answer. We have 4 teams left. Champions League. Who's taking it?
I'm a terrible fan because I have Mickey in the Champions League this year. But I think City's in it still, right?
Yeah, they're up 4-3 on the aggregate against Real Madrid. So Wednesday they got to go to the Bernabeu and fight Real Madrid up 1. So it's big stuff.
I'm going with City because the false 9 is a little tricky though.
That's the thing.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. You don't know what you're gonna get. So I don't know. It's different, but sometimes things are different and it only works to a certain degree. So let's see what happens. But of course, I got to ride with my boys City.
I'm with you. I think it'll be them versus Liverpool in the finals, and it'll be a repeat for that EPL title too, man. But dude,
they're a kryptonite. So
I know it's gonna be fun. I hope they get the whole treble. They win everything. But dude, Zeco, you are the man. Everybody check out the Matter Over Mind Experience, newly rebranded. One of the most honest, authentic dudes in the space. Zeco, thank you so much, brother.
Thanks, man. Talk to you next time.
Everybody watching, thank you so much for joining us. If you're on the new YouTube channel, just do me a favor, leave a like, review, subscribe, write a little comment. Check out Zeco's stuff. We're going to put all that in the notes below. If you're listening, as always, thank you guys so much. Stay safe, stay positive, stay blessed. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.